The spring game is over. We're heading into the summertime. If you've been following the Oregon Ducks, one word you hear over and over is intensity. Ladies and gentlemen, I am SC Romero. This is the CFB Nation. Welcome to the O.
All right, everybody got goals and aspirations. You know how you get those? You be the best where you're at.
What does Evan Stewart bring to the table here? In short, you get a ball.
The grass is not always green. In fact, the grass is damn green in Eugene.
Whew, the grass is damn green in Eugene. You better believe it. Man, first and foremost, shout out to just blessings, man. The CFB Nation was able to get me into the Oregon Spring Games, have some media passes. That experience in general was amazing. I was sitting up in the press boxes watching the game from there. Then got to talk to some of the athletes after the game, but just overall, without even being a full game, man, Oregon Ducks stand up. The fan base is amazing. They are loud. They are energetic. They are in it the full game, and we are playing each other. So I feel sorry for all the teams that have to come to Eugene this upcoming season because guess what? It's going to get loud in there, and you better be ready because we're going to come. Like I just said in that intro, we're going to come with that intensity. That is something that you're hearing in practices over and over and over, intensity. So let's just get into it right now. That offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator roles. Will Stein came in last year, and man, has he turned that program around. A couple years ago, Oregon looked good. They had, a total of 5,931 total offensive yards in 2021. 2022, they had, they got better, 6,507, 6,507 yards. But then Will Stein took over. He came over from UTSA, and this past season, they had 7,440 total offensive yards. And one thing I noticed that was really big about Will Stein was he made sure his playmakers got the ball. It wasn't about going deep and making those quick passes. It was get the ball in the playmakers' hands and let them do what they do. And what is that? Play football. Let them use their playmaking ability to juke defenders, to make it those extra yardage. That's something that Bo Nix did really well when he was getting the ball to Troy Franklin, when he was getting it to Bucky Orvin, Jordan James. That's something it brought back that up-tempo electricity that we once had in an Oregon offense. We're seeing it again with this new regime with Will Stein at the helm there, which is amazing to see. And that's something we need going into the Big Ten. There's a lot of big players in the Big Ten, and Oregon is going to have a tough time going into it. But guess what? With this new offensive mindset, just get the ball to the playmakers, let them do what they do best, and just play ball. We're going to see, again, that electricity ride through in that offense. Defensively, we have Chas Lupi. He came in 2022, and it seemed in 2021 before he came in, the Oregon Ducks were focused on not on creating turnovers and just trying to avoid those big plays, which is, that is an important part of the game, but we weren't really built in the trenches. What Toss is doing, he's building that intensity, that aggression in the trenches. We're becoming a run-stopping team. As I mentioned before, we brought in Jamari Caldwell, who at the spring game, you saw it. If he's in the middle, guess what? Good luck trying to run on him. He's just that run clogger for him. You have someone like Mateo Ugalele on the side as well. The linebacker core is coming together. We are just becoming that run defensive type of team. And guess what? The secondary is then going to be built off that as well. As I mentioned, we've been very aggressive in the transfer portal, trying to get all these secondary pieces for us. And it's going to be exciting to see them because not only are they guys that can handle that coverage, it's a bunch of guys that, again, play with that intensity, that aren't afraid to go after the ball, that have that great closing speed. Guess what? 2 years ago, before Chas was there, the Oregon Ducks gave up 27 points per game. This past season, 16 and a half points per game. Rome wasn't built in a day, just like the Oregon Ducks defense wasn't built in a day. It took time, but guess what? We're there. Chas is that mindset of play with intensity, play with competition, play better than the next guy to you, but also play better than the guy opposite of the field of you. And that's exactly what they do, and they make sure that no one is getting above them. Now, to do that, you can hear Dan Lanning talking about it, how they attack the recruiting portal. That's not just the transfer portal, but that's also, high school recruits and everything. They have to build on for the next season as well. It's not just about the season at hand, it's also about the future. And one thing they want to keep at it is making sure they have guys that are in that next up mentality, that if it's your time, it's your time and you're coming in. But guess what? Your time may not be till next season, but that's okay. If you're coming in here, you're coming in here to compete. Recently, they just got Peyton Woodward, a safety, a versatile safety that can really fit any kind of package that Oregon wants him in, whether it's being that box or even play into coverage. It is really great. And the best thing about this is he came from St. Bosco High School, St. John Bosco High School, which is where Mateo Ukulele is from. And what I love about that is St. John Bosco, for those that don't know, is a premier or top high school program in the state of California. What I love about this is it allows Peyton to come in and have someone to reference, like Mateo, someone that's been there for a couple seasons now, someone that understands the ropes and knows what they need to do to get to that next level. Hey, guess what? If you're in high school and you transition to college, it's not as easy as just going to school again. There's some transitions to be made, right? For some, it's their first time living away from home. For some, it makes a lot for them to understand what they need to do. It's hard to acclimate themselves to a bigger school or bigger program like Oregon. And now you have this guy in Mateo who went to school with Peyton, who played with Peyton in high school. Now it's like, hey, little brother, I got you. I'm going to teach you the ropes. I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that and how to get in front of these top programs and just be you, man. Like I said earlier, just play the ball that you know. And that's exactly what Payton's going to do. Now, that secondary class is very deep, and we'll go into it a little bit deeper as well. But another one, Atticus Sappington. He leaves Oregon State. This guy is the kicker. And why is this important? Well, Oregon's 2 losses last year were to Washington. Both losses were by 3 points. That's big. This kid, Atticus, 92.9% when it comes to kicking field goals or extra points. He is on the money. This guy can hit it from anywhere. He did miss one between 49 yards this past season, but he is on the money. This is going to be a playmaker. And you talk about, we're going to talk about Brady. He just did his roast, right? A lot of his success came from the leg of the kicker. That's what Atticus is going to bring to the table, where if Dylan Gabriel is just taking the ball downfield, hey, instead of punting the football or having to, go for it on 4th down, just kick that field goal. Why? Because now we have a trusted guy in Atticus Sappington that can do that. He has that leg to hit from a distance or to even be that clutch kicker and win the game when it matters. And guess what? There's some big games coming in this season going into the Big Ten. So that clutch kicking is going to be something that is going to need to happen. And Atticus can definitely bring that. The transfer portal, the recruiting, high school recruiting is big, and Oregon is staying on top of it. They are bringing in guys left and right just to at least interview them in the high school and see how they are, bring visits, official visits. They are not sleeping when it comes to recruiting because they know guys are leaving left and right, whether it's the draft, whether it's entering transfer portal. And guess what? Hey, they want the best for you. But when you're coming to Oregon, when you're coming to Eugene, you better bring that competition and that intensity. And that's exactly what they're building. Now, speaking of competition, let's talk about that QB room. As I mentioned, total blessing being at that Oregon spring game. It was just an amazing atmosphere to be a part of. The quarterback room was phenomenal. Dylan Gabriel looked good. He got the passes out. He got the zip pass. It wasn't until late in the game where we actually started seeing him loosen up a little bit. Maybe it was just the first time playing in front of fans at Autzen that kind of rumbled him at the beginning. But he looked good. And towards the end, we actually saw a little bit more of juice in him, if you will, getting the ball to Evan Stewart and just making some exciting passes there as well. Dante Moore looked great. Honestly, I think the quarterback battle between Dante Moore and Dylan Gabriel is closer than what some may think. Dylan Gabriel, by all means, is going to be the starter week 1. That's simply just being that seniority in him, and he should be. He is a great quarterback. But Dante Moore, if Dylan Gabriel does slip, Dante Moore is right there, and he's going to take that from them. But 2 quarterbacks that we aren't really talking enough about, and I get it. Dylan Gabriel, Dante Moore, 2 top prospects there. Is one, Austin Novosad. Now, I've said it before, is that if Dante Moore did not decommit last season once Bo Nix came back, he would be the quarterback this year. They would have got Dylan Gabriel. Why? Because Dante Moore would know the system there. Dante Moore comes back. As my man Nino just said, do not sleep on Austin Novosad. This guy committed there last year. He stayed there. He knows what they want to run. He understands what Lanning and Stan want to run in that offense. He has a great arm. He has great talent. Now, he is someone to sleep on because guess what? He's someone they trust now. He's someone that is a depth piece that is going to go out there and in practices compete regardless. And that's something that we don't see, right? We watch the games on live television. We don't see what's going on that Monday through Friday, that Sunday, if you will, after they have the game on Saturday. We don't see that in the trenches, in those practices and what's happening. And I guarantee you, Austin Novosad is giving it his all in every single practice and making sure it doesn't matter what wide receiver room he's working with, what group he's working it with, be the second team, third team. He is giving it his all in every single snap. And guess what? If he gets that chance, he may actually slip in there as well. Another one, Luke Moga. This guy had a rushing touchdown and he knows how to use his legs. This kid is someone that if we want to run specific wildcats or something like that, guess what? It might be Moga in there because he is a big built guy. He understands what to do with that leg work. I don't think he's going to get the reps that he wants as a starting quarterback. Again, we have a solid quarterback room, but this is something a kid you just want to watch out for because especially I mentioned transfer portal. He has that juice in him as well. He knows how to make those throws, but again, he understands how to actually use his leg to expand that play and escape the pressure as well. Now that's a big part there. That quarterback room is deep, and I feel very confident. Injuries aside, let's knock on wood. We don't want it to happen, but very confident that if something happens, the next man up will easily step up and take control of that offense. Now, last section here, it says freshman faves. We're going to talk about these freshman guys. But before that, let's go into this wide receiver room. One freshman I've highlighted was Jeremiah McClellan, a wide receiver. Now, last year, the big rave was Jerrion Dickey. And don't get me wrong, I was in on Jerrion Dickey. I love Jerrion Dickey and what he can do. But I just don't I hate to say this, but I really think Jeremiah McClellan is going to overstep Dickey. It just seemed like they were, at least in the spring game, they had specific plays set out for Jerrion Dickey outside of him being in the full room, if you will. Like he wasn't a guy you saw on multiple snaps. They had plays specifically designed for him. And the wide receiver room is really deep. Ches Johnson was going to be there. Evan Stewart's going to be there. That's your 1 and 2, right? And a topic for a different discussion, but Ches Johnson might be the wide receiver 1 for the Decks. I'm just going to go out there and say that. And I think Evan Stewart actually stays another year because of that. Okay. Now, those two, you also have Justice Lowe, who people are sleeping on heavily. You also have Gary Bryant Jr., who looked great, and Trayshawn Holden. Now you have Jeremiah McClellan, who's coming in as a straight freshman, early enrollee, and then Jerrion Dickey. This wide receiver room is deep, and as we see down there, Dickey versus McClellan, competition matters. And I actually had the honor of asking Tez, being the senior leader in this wide receiver core, how does it mean to be a leader to you? And his answer was, I really don't feel there is a true wide receiver 1 of this team. Like we're all wide receiver 1s. We all go out there and compete. And I know my job is to go out there and do the best for my team, but also make sure the next guy after me is ready to compete. And that's what you love to hear. That's a leader, right? He's not going out there. It's not about the stats. It's about making sure, hey, 1, we win the game, but 2, the next guy coming in after me is filling in my role and understands exactly what they need to do. And that's what this wide receiver room as a whole is going to do. I'm excited to see how Oregon does different packages with this wide receiver room core. And that's not even all the guys. They still got some freshmen coming in as like Gatlin Blair, right? Cooper Perry in a few years, right? This is some great things that's going to happen, and I'm excited to see what that actually comes into. But Jeremiah McClellan, wide receiver freshman that I want you to pay attention to. Now, let's flip the script a little bit. Let's go into the defensive side of the ball. If you follow me, you understand IDP. I love IDP and what they can do. The defense wins championships. And what that means is having that intensity as well. I mentioned Jamari Cadwell. Let's go into Aaron Flowers. Now, I could have missed it, but again, I watched this whole game. I did not see him come off the field. He was on the field every single snap. Again, maybe I blinked and he came off, but every time I was looking at it, he was on the field. Now, I say this because they did a lot in the transfer portal this year to make sure they have a strong secondary, right? And right now, you can say Tyson Johnson is the starter for their secondary. Maybe across, you have Jabbar Muhammad out there as well that can do it. But Tyson Johnson should be the week 1 starter. However, man, Aaron Flowers, man, this kid is phenomenal. He had 4 total tackles. It introduced or showed his closing speed to all the Oregon Duck fans that hadn't seen him before. He showed his coverage skills to all the Oregon Duck fans that haven't seen him before. If Aaron Flowers isn't starting week 1, let me see how I will reframe this. He will be a starter by the end of the season. I just think he has that grit to him that Oregon really wants on their defense, and he has that intensity they want in their secondary. Again, as I mentioned, that front 7 was built off that intensity, and they try to get the secondary built off that. Aaron Flowers fits that mold perfectly. 5-star prospect, coming in as a true safety for his team, understand exactly what he needs to do. It really looked like he was a veteran on the field. I would have thought he was a freshman had I not known anything about him. This is the freshman I'm very excited to see. You know, I think he can make a huge impact for the team. Oregon secondary had some struggles last season, and I think having someone like that in the back to cover the cornerbacks that get beat, this is someone you want. Again, that closing speed, those coverage skills, just the IQ and understanding what the quarterback is doing and watching where he's going with his eyes. This is something that Aaron Flowers does to a T of perfection, and I really believe he is going to be one of the top guys for an Oregon defense in years to come. Now, as I mentioned, the spring game was amazing. Check out my article on CFB Nation. Wrote everything I thought, the QB battle, the freshmen, the wide receiver, the defensive line, all that. Go ahead and check it out there. Until next time, my name is SC Romero. This is the O on CFB Nation.
All right, everybody got goals and aspirations. You know how you get those? You be the best where you're at.
What does Evan Stewart bring to the table here? In short, you get a baller.
The grass is not always green. In fact, the grass is damn green in Eugene.